You guys know how it goes. Tier List Tuesday is back, and today we have our new content that we got in MLB the Show 22, our Dog Days of Summer featured program. We also got new World Series awards last night, so we're gonna be going through and seeing where they stand. But now let's hop on into our tier lists and see what we have in store this week. These are the catchers, and as you see, not much has changed on the catcher front. However, we do have more options in the guys like Yadier Molina, Jason Kendall, and Johnny Bench. All three are very viable catchers amongst the rest. However, I don't know if they are amongst the best of the best. Someone like a Diego Cartaya has better well-rounded hitting than someone like Johnny Bench. Someone like Mike Napoli is definitely the best overall hitter of the entire bunch, but also lacks defensively. And someone like Joe Mauer lacks versus lefties. Everyone in the S and S Plus here are really close. I've been shuffling, trying different options, and next up I'm trying Jason Kendall because I do think his card could be fun. First base, I'm really critical with hitting. I really think this is a position you should be having one of, if not your best hitters in your lineup. I say it each week, so I'm a little bit more critical on hitting attributes on this tier list. Thus, why I see someone like Johnny Bench and Yadier Molina, who would normally be an S tier because of the defense maybe that they bring. At first base, I really don't care about the defense as much. I want big bats. But as you see with our S and S Plus tier and so on, I still think the big two are Frank Thomas and David Ortiz. If you don't love either of them, you could try Austin Riley. You could use anyone in the S tier. They will be very solid options at first. You want to move Cody Bellinger back because if you are playing on Hall of Fame, which is for what I build these tier lists for, the contact might be a little low. It probably isn't, but I do want to take note of that. But he gets a little bit of a plus for being the speedier first baseman. Willie Mays is a viable first baseman if you are looking for an avenue to get him in your lineup. He's definitely not a must-use because that defense and the speed will be way more valuable in the outfield. Second base is that position where I do want to get a little bit more contact. I like having a contacty type hitter in this part of the order. Get a little bit of speed in there as well. So as you see, are kind of hitters, somewhat lackluster power at this point in the game, like some of our switch hitters like Escobar, Polanco, and Mookie, starting to get a little bit outclassed at this point in the game. The only switch hitter of that type I still have in the S tier is Ketel Marte because his contact is high enough at this point in the game where it still lasts with the really good pitchers in the game. However, your switch hitters are still very viable. I would really try De La Cruz if you have not tried him. I think he's got very well-rounded hitting attributes, fun speed as well. But in terms of our S plus tier, I think Jackie Robinson, Brian Roberts are probably the big two. And I have Ron Santo in the S plus tier because he does bring a little bit more power than those two. I had a lot of fun with him playing BR with him the other day. Now we slide over to third base, and I am more critical on the hitting at this position, almost like first base, but not as crazy at first base. Having a little bit of good defense is valuable. I don't love putting out bronze fielders and stuff like that at third base. If you have like silver or really gold fielding at least, you're probably fine. But beauty of third base is there are enough good hitting and fielding third base options where you can find that. So, but I do want power at third base, almost like I do at first base. So even though I have some shortstop guys at secondaries, power is really where it's at this position. So that's why I have George Brett still in the S plus tier. Austin Riley is phenomenal as well. Thing is, I would only move someone over there like a Volpe or O'Neal Cruz. I mean, unless you really like your second baseman. But again, I want power here. So something like George Brett and Riley are great because they do bring great power and good contact to the table. Shortstop is definitely a position like I seem to mention each week. There isn't that much depth. However, the new 99 Cal Ripken does have a great fit at shortstop. Honestly, I'm going to put him right next to Dansby. Him and Ron Santo are actually pretty similar, but Ripken brings a bigger benefit in contact, which, you know, having an extra 10 plus contact versus each side is going to be valuable. However, if you like the good defense, the slightly lower speed shortstop, someone like Ripken and Santo are going to be great options. I think both their cards are going to be very valuable at this point in the year, but I think the guys that people are likely sticking to are Dansby Swanson or O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz is very fun with the power. But again, there's no singular one shortstop that I could really recommend over the rest. Now we move to the outfield, and the outfield, as per usual, is very hectic. There isn't much new content I have in the lower tiers other than the cards that are in like that Legend and Flashback pack in the program. I did make some minor tuning here, but the A tier, you see one big fella, Mickey Mantle. I just can't recommend on Hall of Fame difficulty starting someone with 77 contact versus righties when you are facing a majority of righty starters at this point in the game. It's just not going to be enough for a large majority of people in Hall of Fame. I can't really recommend it that much. And yes, I did shuffle some of the outfield guys down into the A tier. I think some of your slower outfielders that aren't as good versus both sides, like the Carlos Delgado, Kyle Schwarber guys, are definitely a tier down. And Grady Sizemore is just an all-defense guy, doesn't bring enough hitting to the table, but I will say I'd rather use him than Mickey Mantle, so I should move him up. But in our S tier, what I'm looking for is well-rounded hitting, speed, and defense whenever you can find it. At least silver fielding. If they are a silver fielder, they better have a way better bat. Guys like Stanton and Babe Ruth and so on are the hitter types you want to throw in your corner outfield. The new 99 Corbin Carroll I do have in the S tier right next to Cedric Mullins. They are pretty similar type center fielders. Carroll brings a better arm. Cedric brings a little bit more power. Both good options if you're looking for that viable lefty center fielder with speed. I would recommend using one of them if you have the slower fielding outfielders. But obviously the go-to outfield I would say is definitely with Andrew McCutchen in center. I would definitely play Willie Mays in the secondary to get a good mix of hitting and defense. And then probably one of Austin Riley, Juan Soto, or Julio Rodriguez. Riley Green is definitely valid because again, he is well-rounded. However, he probably does belong right in the S tier, not the S plus, only because he's a little bit short in the power. All of these guys have incredible hitting attributes and are fine enough in the outfield defensively. But yeah, find a mix of outfielders with good hitting, good speed, whatever combination works the best for you. Some of you guys are rocking some fun outfields with some of the All-Star Game guys and Home Run Derby guys like Julio and Giancarlo and Juan Soto. So I think having one of those guys your outfield is definitely more than fine still at this point in the game. Then we have our starting pitching, and there actually has been some change in this front. The new Pedro Martinez is definitely viable. The best five, I would say, are definitely pretty righty heavy. Grayson Rodriguez, Pedro, and Mike Messina now being added to the bunch. At this point in the game, you still got to keep an eye out for the lefties like Leiter, Cole Hamels, Chris Sale, and Randy Johnson. I think those are the biggest lefties that you face somewhat regularly. So there still is value having a pretty balanced lineup. But I would say Grayson and Pedro are 1-1 in terms of the type of pitchers that they are. Not much different between the two. Mike Messina is definitely the control type, but he's basically just a righty out lighter essentially. But everyone in that S plus and S tier are the best of the best at this current point in the game. However, everyone really behind Espino in the S tier can easily wipe off of teams if they do another big program next month, whatever they have planned. And at this point in the game, those guys like Ashby and Yuri Perez are viable, but they're going to start to be a little bit of a tier down in comparison to other pitchers that we have. And then in the A tier, I do have some of our higher overall pitchers, but for many people, these will likely be the back end of the rotation for you. And last, but definitely not least, we have our relievers. And as per usual, nothing really changes in the reliever front because we don't get enough relievers this year, seemingly. These are all of the lower tiers. I still think the best of the best are guys like Raleigh Fingers. I am going to move Brian Wilson down. Forgot to move that down. Gregory Soto and Zach Britton, I think are the ones that are really, really worth using in your pen. And then your S tier are definitely still viable. You just likely will be doing some sort of shuffling based on who you like and dislike. Like, I don't like Josh Hader, but I do like someone like a Devin Williams. Majority of your relievers will be in the A tier and above, including our new Troy Percival, who actually isn't that bad attribute-wise. This is what my team is looking like right now. I will likely be replacing Matt Carpenter in right field, but other than that, this is probably my best team. I don't think much changes. If I do take out a lefty, I would probably put O'Neal Cruz at shortstop. And this is what the rotation and bullpen looks like. I just see a lot of players been on the damn team forever, so I'm hoping the bullpen gets some big-time replacements soon. I'm hoping that we get some more really viable shortstops and catchers, because there are a lot of good ones, but there isn't anyone that's really incredible. And I would love for like a big-time collection to be one of those two positions, hopefully at some point soon. But yeah, that is going to be it for this tier list Tuesday. I finally got it up on a Tuesday. I think next week, since we have the Dog Days of Summer program still going on, instead of doing a full-blown tier list, we'll just do a top players at each position. So let me know in the comments who your favorite couple players are at each position. I would love to hear your thoughts. I will definitely be doing that next week, so we could shift up from just doing constant tier lists of all the cards. Appreciate you all watching this video. I'll see your face on the next one tomorrow. Deuces.